2:15. And while you're getting there, I want to start off reading a little bit. Okay, 2 Timothy 2:15. Everything that is in I want to start off saying that everything that we see, hear, touch, and taste is subject to interpretation. Or should I say, subject to our interpretation of it. Many religions, teachings, beliefs, lies, and rumors were all built upon and created out of someone's interpretation of what or how they interpret what they read, saw, and heard, rather it be good or evil. Our interpretation, or should I say, our way of explaining meaning of what and how we came up with what we believe to be true out of what we heard and saw. So let me start that back over again. Everything that we see, hear, touch, and taste is subject to our interpretation of it. When you feel something, your interpretation of what you feel is different than someone else's interpretation. Amen. Or every once in a while, maybe someone else might have the same interpretation, but a different meaning. Even when we have conversation and we say something about, somebody could say a cat or say a truck. Well, there's many types of cats, and there's many types of dogs, and there's many types of. So when we realize that there's many types of, then that means my interpretation of what I'm seeing when you say truck or car, or you mention something. My vision of what you're saying is totally different than what you're probably saying. So then that's why that leads us to drawing a image when we talk, or how they call it, storyteller. A storyteller draws an image in your mind so that you can be able to stay on the same level of where they are. When you read a book, the book is drawing images to you so that you can stay on the same wavelength so that you won't get confused. You know, a lot of people, you ever see people or hear people saying, you know, I read this, but I'm not getting it. I have that problem, I have that issue every once in a while. I had it a lot when I was little. I could read it, but I just didn't understand it. Because what I was reading and how my eyes perceived it was totally different than what everybody else was reading and seeing. All right, go, the glasses. And so as we began to get into it, then as the glasses made things, magnified things a little bit better, my interpretation, because the way I see things different, caused the interpretation of what I was reading to be different. It was a little bit the same, but with my imagination drew the picture a little bit bigger. You know, it's like how you can watch a cartoon or you can watch something on TV, and all of a sudden you get a revelation out of it, and somebody can watch it just for entertainment because of where your mindset is. Amen? Amen. Amen. Subject to interpretation subject of interpretation causes one to be in bondage to one's belief. So if everything is subject for interpretation, then it's possible that my thinking can hold me in bondage. Because the word subject, when you see certain scriptures in the Bible, it says subject unto, meaning that you can be a slave to. See, the word subject has many different meanings. Subject can mean something that you study in school. It can mean I can't think of that word right now, but we'll say a subject that you study in school. Or subject could be an issue. Subject could be anything, and subject also means be a slave to or be in bondage to. So I can be in bondage to my interpretation. Everything is subject to interpretation, or everything causes one to be in bondage to it, because if you believe it so much, you'll find yourself trapped in that. Amen. Have you ever known somebody that's just a compulsive liar? I mean, they lie so much to the point they believe they lie. Oh yeah. I mean, they wake up and you be like, or they tell a story that happened when you were little, and you look back and you're like, I don't remember that, or did I suppress that? And then you puzzle because you don't know, you run in, okay, did that really happen? I don't remember this happening. Then you realize it never happened. It happened in their mindset because they're such an impulsive liar to make themselves look so great, to the point they believe that that existed back in that time. Oh, yeah. You see? And then they'll come and say, I hate you because of this, and then you're like, wait a minute, that never happened. Oh, I've been hating you this long and it never happened? Yeah, it never happened. I don't even remember being there. You see what I'm saying? So everything in life is subject to our interpretation of it. Amen? Amen. says, subject to interpretation causes one to be in bondage to one's belief. Notice how many notice how many of the self-help gurus and the New Age movements and all these different people who are motivational speakers, they always teach and use the word conscious or consciousness. You notice that? You notice how they use a conscious or consciousness, self-awareness. They use these big words, and all it is just keynote words in regards to opening up certain doors. Now, when we deal with the mind, they use the word conscious and consciousness when dealing with the word, when dealing with the mind and spirit, or a human psyche. They say to receive true enlightenment, one must free your mind. How many of you ever heard that? To get a clear understanding of it, you've got to free your mind. When you look at the Matrix, the guy says, tells one of the guys, he said, in order for you to become who you are, you have to free your mind to be able to receive what I have for you. Amen. So now he's telling you, okay, now you got to forget everything you were taught and everything you know and embrace something that man is about to show you. So he's going into his conscience and trying to lie to the man's conscience, lie to what he was ever taught, and start using big words to infiltrate and bring him into where he wants him to be. That's how con men work. That's how people get deceived and get manipulated, because what happened is the enemy comes in and he speaks to the area where you're hungry and the area where you're ignorant at the same time. And that's how he gets in your mindset and causes you to be where you at, or causes you to believe that you need a person. The moment we realize that I don't need you, the moment we realize that I don't need you to be my friend, I don't need you in my life, and I don't have to influence, I don't have to change my life to please you, that's the moment that we can be able to go to that next level that God has called us to. See, because our interpretation of pleasing people, feeling that we need a person, and that person then begins to realize that, okay, they need me. They become that God in your life. Amen. And the moment that they feel this is happening, that's the moment that you're in control. But the moment any minister, any person, or anybody receive and understand that they don't understand that, one, I don't need you. One, two, I don't have to live my life to satisfy any person, place, or thing. Once we begin to understand that I don't have to cater my life around these persons, though you can get mad if you want to, you can do this. You know, once we begin to speak to these people and let them know that this is my life. Amen. Amen. Once we begin to do that, that's when we become powerful in what God calls us to be. Amen. That's when we can be able to, in so many words, be our own Superman. See, because what's happening is kryptonite, we wear kryptonite in our lives, or on our wrists, or in relationships, and this kryptonite is the thing that's causing us not to hear, see, touch, or taste, or smell God. Yes, smell God. God has a smell. God has a feel. When God's Spirit enters into a room, we feel His presence. But how do you feel God's presence when kryptonite has numbed your senses? How can you embrace God when hate, anger, unbelief, murder, all these different negative things, for lack of words, have embraced and have gotten you so numb to the point that you want to feel God, but you can't feel God? Because everything is subject to our interpretation of how to. Many ministers, if you go online and you Google or you do any type of research, you notice that all of a sudden half the ministers are motivational, inspirational, teachers, as well as pastors, teachers, and so on and so forth. So my thing is, if you're all of these, when do you become pastor? See, because eventually all of this have to intertwine into your sermon. And so now the sermon becomes a help-based sermon. In reality, it's not doing anything to take you to your next level. You see, I can step in and say then, well, you know, in order to attain the best you have to just get the hells out of the situations that are in you. I mean, yeah, that sounds good, and that sounds motivational, and we know you got that from Socrates. You just changed the words around. You got it from Plato, but you just changed the words around. But all in all, how do I get these things out of me? You see, I can motivate you, I can encourage you, I can inspire you, but that's me. See, because when I do something, it's temporary. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a cut that needs stitches. The more you keep putting on, all it's going to do is just fade and soak that skin, and it's going to turn white. Or it's going to turn whatever colors until that Band-Aid falls off. And then you keep putting it on